Hey everyone, welcome into Peanut Butter and Triggered. I'm joined by my man,
Ben.
Hey, this is our first time going live, so you can see us on there. Hi.
Wow.
Oops, I unplugged my headphones. Dope.
Already
Give me a
fucked
second.
up. We've been live for 10 seconds, experiencing technical difficulties.
Anyway, thanks for joining us. This is our first second live broadcast, but first with the new camera and the new setup. So bear with us. Thank you everyone for joining in. We're gonna talk. Well, first off,
I think it's pretty obvious that we're missing our Hispanic co-pilot here. Mr. J celebrated his 30th. He got pretty turnt, and ain't nobody heard from that dude since.
Yeah,
so if you hear from him,
R.I.P. MIA.
he made it to 30. Good job.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit today about lore and media specifically. We're going to talk a little bit about our nerdiness in Lord of the Rings as well as our nerdiness in Dark Souls. But first off, Mr. Ben, what's going on in your life?
Yeah, it's been a while since I've been on here. I turned 30, so yeah, I made it.
He's old.
Yeah. I got engaged.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty dope. We got a lot of likes on social media. It really, kind of made my day.
Yeah, those ones always get a lot. Same with having a kid. Wait till you have a kid.
Yeah.
You're going to get like 1 trillion.
She might be watching. Shut up.
Shout out, Callie.
Yeah, she probably won't. She never watches this. She's a horrible fiance.
Well, it's live on Facebook, so she might be.
She might be. She's on Facebook a lot. Other than that, the holidays have come and gone, and yeah, it's been a good run. How about you, Scotty Doo?
Nothing necessarily new with me since last week, I guess, is when you last heard from me. I don't have a whole lot going on. I have started watching The Great British Baker with my wife. Shout out, my wife.
It's the Great British Baking Show.
That's what I said.
You said The Great British Baker.
Okay.
It just sounds like it's a movie about a really fat guy.
Well, there's a fat guy on there, so shout out.
They basically have... Oh, God, we're live.
So, what have you been playing, watching? I heard you watched Bird Box, right?
Yeah. I watched I watched one really good horror movie, and I watched one really shitty horror movie. Bird Box was totally a rip. I did not like it until I read a fan theory.
I haven't watched it, so...
Well, the basic premise, no spoilers, is that these creatures come, and when you see them, you have to kill yourself.
Demons or something?
They never explain what they are, so you never really get to find out. Like, it's just a survival movie. But someone theorized that the monsters represent what social media is doing to humanity.
Like the Facebook Live?
Yeah. It's exactly like what's going on right now. And there are a group of people in the movie, and I don't think this is spoiling anything, that can actually see the monsters, and it just makes them basically kind of insane, and they want to show everyone with the monsters. Like, they open your eyes, and that represents the people who can just sit on their phone and stare at it for hours and just melt their brain away.
Wow.
So when I went back and thought about it to that context, fuck yeah, that's kind of cool. But
So you're saying after you watch it, you should go and check out like the theories. And
that one specifically.
Okay.
Because some of the other, almost all the other theories were stupid. But yeah, I mean, it's entertaining. I'll give it that. I thought it could have been way better, and the acting sucked except for Sandra. She held it together.
Wow.
Hereditary, I saw.
Yeah, me and my wife watched a trailer for Hereditary last night, and yeah, it definitely looks sketchy.
It was one of the more disturbing horror movies I've seen.
Oh, hold up, Jay Eastwood has joined.
What?
Wow, thanks for watching, friend.
Jay Eastwood, where the fuck have you been, you son of a turkey?
Son of a turkey. I'll let you guys know, too, there's definitely a delay in streaming here, so we won't see your comments, likes, until like 10 or 15 seconds later. So just so you guys know. But I can see who joined, and thanks for joining and watching us.
For sure.
Anyway, yeah, I'm excited to watch that one. Sorry, I ignored you for a second.
It's all good, man. I'm used to it.
I apologize.
It's one of the most disturbing horror movies I've ever seen, and I'll tell you, I'll put it in my top 5 of all time.
Wow.
Big horror movie fan too.
Yeah.
Okay. Check it out. It's a slow burn with a hell of an ending. So.
Yeah, I definitely need to watch that one for sure. Anything else we've watched? You've watched? I've watched.
What was it that we
Hold up, we're getting a call.
Oh yeah.
Hello?
You son of a bitches.
Oh, look who it is.
Son of a bitches, huh? Plural.
It's
my God.
Jay Eastwood
What are
via
you guys
phone
doing?
call.
What are you doing? That's
You're
the real
supposed
question.
to be here tonight, friend.
I am still recovering
Yeah, you got real turnt.
Well,
I was there.
yeah.
I saw
Your
it.
girlfriend is
Yeah.
super worried. She
Well,
called
hey,
me.
You know what? All I can say is that at least I wasn't drunk enough to cry.
Oh.
Well, is that a shot at
Ben,
me?
Ben cries all the time.
Just from time to. I cried on my 30th birthday celebration because I looked
Oh
around
my
at
God,
everyone.
You did?
Yeah.
Wow, I apologize again. I'm
Okay,
going to
so
make
that's
up for
twice
that,
now.
for not showing up to that.
You cried when Naylor left, and then you cried on your 30th.
Yeah, because I didn't want to be old. I'm sorry that death is coming soon. It's saddening.
Soon. Why do you think it's coming soon? You're only 30, man.
But I'm really out of shape and I drink too much. So.
He's right.
Oh,
But hey,
no, that's a good point.
I did
Did
not.
I catch you qualifying what makes Bird Box good?
I thought one of the fan theories was cool. Shut up.
Oh, okay. I was just thinking like movies should just be good on their own. You shouldn't have to qualify them.
He's right. That
It's
makes a
true,
point.
but when you read the theory, it makes it interesting. That's all I said. Why are
Did
you
you
going to
all-
call in just to
Hey,
come
wait.
at me like this?
Sorry, did you all see the 3D renders of what the monsters were supposed to look like
Yeah.
in Bird Box?
They were just
They
like,
did look
Well,
like big babies.
let's look it up. Let me pull it up.
they were just
You-
cancer babies.
They look like.
I'm gonna pull it up
If
for
you guys
you.
remember the music video to Green Day's Basket Case? They look like the masks that they're wearing in the insane asylum.
Yeah, it was stupid. They said Sandra Bullock. They tried to like do like a like hype up one of it's
Wow,
just
these-
birdhouses.
These are great.
But yeah, she saw the creature design and she couldn't stop laughing. So
That's
It's terrible, man.
That's
yeah.
so
I could
sketchy.
think of something better than that.
Yeah, why would that make you
Whatever.
kill yourself? I would just be like, ugh.
Wow, those are amazing.
I'd
Just
be like,
wait. If
man,
you're
I'm
watching
sorry.
live, you're going to see it in a second there, Jay Eastwood. Bird Box movie. Let's try this.
Why don't you just put Bird Box Monsters?
Yeah, I should have. I admit
What are
it.
you guys even talking about?
Just wait.
man?
Watch the live.
What do you mean? Are you not watching?
What do you?
Oh, is this him?
No, that's way scarier.
There's nothing. There's nothing I found on
I
Facebook.
saw
It's all
it.
He
terrible.
just tagged you all on the Instagram.
What? I don't have access to any Instagram.
Oh man.
Yeah, we're trying not to be on our phones. We're trying to be present for the listeners.
But anyway,
Oh, yeah.
we'll share it on Instagram because you have control of that, and then we can talk
Oh,
about
yeah.
it maybe next
Okay.
week or something.
Yeah, contribute a little.
Have you watched anything, Jay, before you go? Or you want to talk about
Um,
anything?
Have I watched anything?
Why'd you say that
Have you
British?
watched anything?
Have we watched anything?
Hey, don't make fun of the way I talk.
You're working on it. I get it.
Yeah, I know. It's
Shout out
English is
Raven,
my
Robbie,
second language.
joining up.
Join it up.
No, I haven't watched anything since we last spoke. But what I want to know is where the hell you guys come off doing a show without me?
Well, you were gone, so
This
we
is
had to.
showbiz, baby. Y'all do it without me? It's all right.
All right. I guess that's fair.
Well, happy
and
recovery.
I still feel like shit. So thanks for taking the reins.
Hey, real talk. You were hella turnt.
Oh, dude. I don't think I remember drinking that much since like I turned 21.
We called a
That's
bunch of
definitely the
people.
most.
Hey, we called all the people that didn't show up, and Jose pretended to cry.
Oh,
It
wow.
was a good 30-minute chunk of the night.
Just so you guys know, his girlfriend threw him a surprise party, and we all showed up. And yeah, it was
Yeah,
good.
that was very kind of you all.
Scotty was
Show
there
up
for
like
10
that.
minutes. He really got turned too.
Mm-hmm.
Just kidding. He has a child.
He
has
was
an
there
excuse.
for more than 10 minutes.
You're right, 15.
Yeah.
And then my sisters finally got to meet their favorite peanut
Yeah.
butter triggered host.
I got to feel really cool for a second.
Yeah, we felt
'cause
really cool.
Jose's sister
Yeah,
was like,
she was,
"Oh
like,
my god, that's
legitimately
Ben!
excited.
Yeah, and she's like,
Yeah.
Scott, oh my God.
You guys are on that thing with my brother." She didn't talk like that at all.
Yeah, she literally
Sorry.
wouldn't.
She's
Shout
gonna
out
listen
to his
this.
sister.
Yeah, shout out sister.
But she doesn't talk
Shout
like
out
that at all.
Patricia.
Yeah, shout out Patricia. Anyway,
Yeah.
well,
All
thanks
right,
for
well,
calling
I'm-
in, friend.
Yeah. Wait. What are you guys talking about today?
We're talking about lore and media
Then Lord of the Rings.
and Lord of the Rings and
Oh.
Dark Souls.
Okay. So since I remember about 5% of Lord of the Rings, I'm glad you guys are doing this episode
Yeah,
without me.
yeah, for
Cool.
sure.
All right.
Have
well,
a good
have a good,
anti-turning.
have a good.
I will have a good.
Bye. I'm hanging up on you.
All right. All right. I got to remember to talk to the mic.
It
It's
says
so bad.
Ben is your tattoo buddy. My Robbie has a big tattoo, all like shoulders tattoo or whatever
Can't
sleeve.
get to the...
Let's see if I can.
Yeah, I'm tatted up. They used to call me Tat Daddy back on the farm.
Should we look at Robbie's Facebook? No, we won't. That's,
Yeah,
fine. That's appropriate.
It's kind of awkward.
That'd be awkward.
Let's just look at people's Facebooks. That listen to
Yeah,
us.
shout out. Yeah, the Lord of the Rings TV show is going to be dope. It's supposed to be the most expensive TV show in history.
Really?
Yeah, they spent like billions of dollars
It's
on it.
Netflix, right?
I think it's an Amazon joint.
Oh yeah, Netflix is doing The Witcher
Yeah, they are. Lord of the... Let me look how much. Lord of
with Geralt.
the Rings TV show.
Henry Cavill does not look like a convincing Geralt at all.
There's a bunch of stuff. Could cast Aragorn. They're casting Aragorn, apparently? Wow.
It's not going to be that guy who... Is his name
200.
Viggo?
The company paid $250 million to purchase the rights to Lord of the Rings. Oh, gosh. I've been blocked because I have ad blocker. Anyway, $250 million, Lord of the Rings Tolkien estate. Yeah, that's crazy. They blocked me because I have ad blocker. Oh, Lord.
Dang.
But anyway, yeah, it's going to be crazy.
Don't they know we're live?
Yeah, I don't really know we're live. But anyway, Lord of the Rings, you know a little bit about Lord of the Rings, don't you?
Yeah, I love it. I'm a big Tolkien fan.
Well, if you actually go back way, way, way back to the origin of time, there's this dude, there's the First War, and there's a bunch of stuff that happens, but there's this super badass dude named Morgoth, which you might not have heard of him, also known as Melkor, but imagine Sauron. Like, Sauron was like one of Melkor's generals, so Melkor is like super powerful, way more powerful than Sauron. And during these times in the First Age, they actually had whole armies of Balrogs.
Wow.
Which is pretty dope. He actually stole the Silmarils, which is like the Silmarillion or whatever, the books by J.R. Tolkien. You know what I'm talking about?
The guy who wrote them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He wrote books like way, way back then, and there's basically like a giant war and stuff. But long story short, you end up with a bunch of different things, but The Hobbit, I think, is the defining moment later, obviously. Well, the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings. Yeah.
I was one of the first. You remember the cartoon?
I didn't watch the cartoon. I read the book.
I had it. My mom made me read the book. My mom loved Tolkien. But, yeah, dude, The Hobbit, the cartoon, that was my first experience.
That was your grind.
It was dope.
What did you think of the movies? The newer movies? Did you read the book, actually, first?
Yeah, so I've read all the books. And I hate people who are like, the movies suck. They weren't just like the books.
Well, that's how always are.
Yeah, but it was entertaining. That's
I agree
what
with you.
Everything they added, the White Orc, I forgot what his name was.
Yeah, I can't remember.
He was cool. I like that story.
He's pretty cool.
I didn't like the whole. They tried to bring a lot of romance into it. Which is
that part dumb. with Keely, or was it Keely or Feely, falls in love with like some.
I get them mixed up all the time.
I do, yeah.
Keely and Feely.
Same with Merry and Pippin. I get those confused too. Sadly.
Yeah, they're just together.
Yeah, they're together. But yeah, that part's kind of dumb. But the Battle of the Five Armies was cool, and the one thing that I guess I'm going to be like one of those guys at the beginning. When I read the book, it talks about two stone trolls fighting in like I don't know, they're like down below the mountains where they are, and in the movie they're like giant. They're way larger than I ever imagined, but again, it's reimagining.
I can't remember.
You remember at the beginning of the movie there's like giant stone people throwing rocks at each other and shit? Yeah, in the book they talk about trolls doing it and they see them doing it. I don't think they're ever hit by them or anything. They just kind of go in and they camp for the night, and then they actually fall into the goblin area with the Goblin King.
Oh,
and stuff.
yeah. God, that dude was ugly. In the movie, his neck was so. Didn't he get his throat slit too?
He in the movie he gets his throat slit. In the book, what happens is he's talking to all the dwarfs, and a sword comes out of his chest and it's glowing white. It's Gandalf's sword, because in the books Gandalf's sword glows like Sting does, but it was white.
I remember that. I don't remember the books that well. It's been so I read them as a kid.
Yeah,
my mom just wanted to be immersed in that. Like she was really like trying to like.
It's a cool thing to be immersed into. He wrote for like 80 years or something crazy like that. He just built that lore.
Yeah,
they're still releasing books, Tolkien books.
How? His children?
His children are going through like his notes and like continuing.
Is that what's going to happen with George R.R. Martin? Because
he hasn't written shit. He has been writing that same book for like 20 years or something.
I saw a funny Hard Times article the other day about how they were hiring someone to write his like end like of his life.
Yeah,
because they can't figure it out.
Because they can't figure it out. Yeah, but there's I guess this brings me to there's a lot of media that has varying amounts of lore, and I think it can be good either way. There's stuff like Harry Potter where it has like like I'd say probably a small amount of lore in comparison to the Lord of the Rings. The Lord of the Rings has a lot of lore, probably the most lore of anything.
Well, Harry Potter does, and they have,
they have like Pottermore and...
Well, you have the offshoots like Fantastic Beasts and like all these things that happen in that universe.
Yeah.
But
when you compare that to the, like, literally, if you read the appendices, excuse me, of Lord of the Rings, it's like another book. There's a whole language and all the trees, the separating, trees of people's lives and stuff like that. It's pretty interesting. In 3 ages, that's crazy.
Yeah, as you and I were talking before, I did not know there was all these detailed books, so I guess I'm not as big a fan as I thought I was.
Yeah. So in the back of the books, there's the appendices, and like he created Orcish, he created Elvish, like actual languages. He talks about the creation of the world, and it's actually really cool. If you go and read, don't quote me on these because it's been a long time since I did this. I nerded out on this like for a year of my life. If you go in, they actually they talk about the end of the world, basically when almost kind of heaven when heaven meets hell moment. All the generals, the good generals that were ever like alive, and all the bad generals come out for one final battle. So imagine a giant battle with Ents and orcs and Belrogs and all that shit, all in one giant battle with dragons and eagles. The battle, in the grand scheme of things, the Lord of the Rings in that storyline is kind of a turning point and the most important part that he ever wrote and the most detailed part he ever wrote. But in the world itself, it's not that big of an event.
Interesting.
Yeah, so long before that, there was whole cities that fell. There's like all the weapons they have are all relics of another time. Of like cities and stuff that were like Gondolin cities that were destroyed, big elvish cities that were destroyed, which is really cool.
Yeah, it is. Out of all the movies, Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, what would you be your favorite?
The Lord of the Rings, the Return of the King for sure.
Really?
Yeah.
I still think Fellowship was the best because it was you saw them come together and you saw them all fall apart, and I just thought it was super entertaining to...
Yeah, I get that. There's definitely a separation of the stories.
Well, it's cool because you got to see, like, the greed of the humans, what the ring was doing to them.
I know, it's funny. A lot of people will still say, like, I didn't like Boromir, but Boromir was just corrupted by the ring.
Yeah, he's just a nice guy trying to protect him.
If you watch the extended editions of the movie, Boromir is actually a super good general, and he protects Faramir from his father Denethor.
Yeah. I lost one to a past relationship.
Yeah. But in the movie, Boromir gets kind of corrupted by the ring and seeks to steal it from Frodo at different parts, like on the mountain pass.
He goes full on corruption.
But in reality, without the corruption of the ring, because men are easily corrupted by the ring, he was like a super good general. He's good to his people. He really sought out. Thank you, to defend Gondor and the humans from this impending threat of Sauron and his growing armies. Which is that is one disappointing thing because Boromir is actually a really cool polarizing figure in Gondor. Figure. Yeah. Figures. So, but yeah, there's like a ton of cool lore behind all that stuff, and I highly recommend following up with that. There's also a cool thing about Lord of the Rings is there's not a lot of canon stuff in canon. Most of the stuff is like actually in canon, unlike Star Wars, which has shit everywhere.
Yeah.
Like there's tons of random books, and there's tons of they'll be like, oh, that, like for example, the video games, they say they're not part of canon. Some of them, like I think there's the one with the dude with the 2 lightsabers. I don't know if you're into Star Wars, but there's the video game where they had the Force Unleashed.
Oh yeah.
Remember you played as like a Jedi who was like trained by Darth Vader and all this shit.
But it played a lot like that game where you what was it called, Infamous?
Yeah.
It was kind of the same exact.
Yeah, kind of same idea. But look, Robbie says number 1 is Fellowship, number 2 is Return of the King, and after 9,000 down is the 2 Towers.
I know, man. What a piece of shit.
I agree.
I still liked it, but you're like, what?
He also says, remember when Boromir tried to steal the Declaration of Independence? He did. That's right. Sean Bean was the bad guy in Declaration of Independence, or in National Treasure.
I haven't seen it.
It's Can-a-lickle. I probably mispronounced his pronunciation.
appendices.
Appendices. But yeah, there's like a lot of it's cool. I love that shit. And that brings us to your favorite game series, Dark Souls.
How dare you?
Why
You're
is that?
right.
Yeah. Dark Souls is lore rich in a way that no other thing, I think, in my opinion, is lore rich.
I think the amazing part of it is they don't, like, they say, fuck you, come find it.
Yeah.
They give you nothing. You have to explore. You have to kill bosses to get their items. They give you, like, the genesis of, like, you know, why they came up to be what they are, and the whole evolution of what transformed them into this beast.
You can play Dark Souls without ever actually you can play Dark Souls without ever actually having any idea what the fuck's going on in the game.
Yeah, you can just literally run through it and kill stuff and be like, dope,
and that's
awesome.
And honestly, that's how I was. Like, I was kind of reading stuff, but I was like, I don't get this. Like, why am I getting these Dark Souls? Or why am I getting souls? Like, why does this matter? Why am I lighting bonfires? And it's interesting because Dark Souls 2 aside, because Dark Souls 2 is its own thing, and the real meat of the story is in Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 3, I think.
Yeah, Dark Souls 2 was filler. Just like the 2 fucking towers.
Yeah, except the Dark Souls 2 was like it's almost not part of the story, is it? It's like separate.
Well, all 3 are kind of separate. Dark Souls 3 just gives tiebacks, I mean, somewhat to the story, but more for like fan. Like they did a lot in that game for the fans. Like the whole last boss being, like his final phase was he just did Gwen's moveset and the music played.
Yeah, dun, dun, that like weird music.
Like they're so good to their fans, but yeah, Dark Souls, like, it's weird. I still don't know so much about it, even though
it's deep.
It's a lot. Like they spent time writing that game, and at the same time not writing it because they just like
all the lore is all fan found. They never released like a lore book,
and it's the only game that's done that, and people are obsessed with it. Like I can't recall anything out there that's even close to the level of obsession people get. Because
it's interesting. Let's talk a little bit about it. I'm not super well versed, and I know you're not as well versed as a lot of these people out here. But basically, originally there was Gwen and originally there was Nito and the Witch of Izalith.
The Witch of Izalith, Gwen, and the Pygmy.
4 of them, the Pygmy, and the Pygmy found the Dark Soul, correct? Mm-hmm. The original Dark Soul. Can you explain what a Dark Soul is?
Oh,
do you
man.
know?
I look like a fucking noob.
No, you're fine.
No,
because I'll read it. I don't know that well either.
Well, it's almost like they never really fully disclose like exactly what, because if you play the Ring City DLC, spoiler alert, your last boss fight, basically the world ends. You find this princess, you touch her head caves in, and then the world is just sand, and you're watching these pygmies again. Yeah,
because you understand what the Ring City is too, right?
Yeah. But the pygmies are crawling away from this thing, and when you find your final boss, he's eating their Dark Souls, and then the guy looks at you and he goes, "Let me have it. Let me have your Dark Soul." And then the fight begins. Wow. And then in phase 2 of the fight, he starts bleeding out. Well, they say,
because there's actually a belief that's it's a shoot to the future, because you talked to that guy earlier, right? And he's fine, and then
he's an NPC.
Yeah, he's an NPC, and then you talk to her, and it almost like she fades. And what the fan opinion is that you actually transverse like 1,000 years into the future, and they sat there for 1,000 years, and he slowly decays, the NPC. And when you come back to him, it's like 1,000 years later, and you're fighting him because he's all beaten up and worn and withered, right?
No, the final boss.
Yeah.
No, he's like Diesel. He's like 8 times the size he was, because he's been literally gorging.
Oh yeah, he's even eating the. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so he's just like, he is just on steroids now.
But basically, at the beginning of the time, they find what do they find? They find like the flame or something like that, and the Pygmy finds the Dark Soul, and Gwen actually sends the Pygmy to the Ring City, which is a city on the edge of the world, and yeah, it's just crazy.
But see, even they said the description, it conflicts with later descriptions. So I don't know. It's almost up to fan interpretation to...
Exactly. It says, the Dark Soul is one of the unique Lord Souls, this one being claimed by the furtive Pygmy, the ancestor of the chosen undead. And there's something that's really interesting, too, about this, is a lot of people argue how the chosen undead's actually chosen. Because some people believe that the chosen undead, because he's chosen, he kills the the demon, the first demon in Dark Souls 1, you know, you kill that big demon. What's he called?
The Asylum Demon?
The Asylum Demon. Some people believe that because he killed the Asylum Demon, he becomes the chosen undead. While others believe the reason that he was able to kill the Asylum Demon is because he was chosen. So there's like, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the Asylum Demon it's the test of your skills in the game as a player, and it's a test of the character.
Yeah.
As if he can escape the undead asylum.
Exactly. And that's why that's how he becomes chosen.
Yeah. But in all the games, the main theory, the whole goal is to link the fire, link the flame, thus restoring the Age of Light, not go into darkness. Because you know how every game has alternate endings?
Yeah, you can select at the end.
Like in Dark Souls 3, I love that one of the endings was you decide not to link the flame and you become this king in the Age of Darkness. Like you're walking down this aisle and all of these creatures are bowing to you.
Yeah.
And it's just like dun 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 dun. You're like,
it's pretty bad.
Whoa.
Well, it's funny because there's 3 endings, and I wanted the 3rd ending, which is where the Firekeeper shows up at the end and you talk to her. You can actually kill the Firekeeper at the end. But it was dumb because I did all the shit that I needed to do to link the Final Fire, and before you link the Final Fire, you talk to her, and that's the alternate ending. And I didn't talk to her. I did everything, and I was like, do-do-do, and I just lit the fire. I was like, as I lit the fire, I was like, no! Because I could see her standing there. You can't go back. That's it.
It's over.
But this brings up some interesting stuff, and those of you who are watching can kind of see there's a whole Wikipedia with lore and that kind of stuff, and there's lore behind everyone. And for example, Artorias, he's a really good example of someone who's really surrounded by a lot of lore, and
it's the most interesting lore in the game, in my opinion.
For sure, Artorias wasn't he a really badass?
Well, there was a group of knights tasked with. Well, he was the main knight tasked with holding off the abyss. Mm-hmm. And Artorias, I think he was in like Gwen's basic council. Like he was one of his
knights. 4 knights. Yeah.
And he was sent, and they were tasked with Sif, his dog. What do you call it?
Sif was one of the 4 knights?
No, Sif and Artorias were just like buddies.
Yeah.
But they fought with each other. Ornstein was one of his knights.
Ornstein, yeah.
Who was the other one?
So it says Artorias, Lord Blade Claren, and Hawkeye Gao.
So he's a giant. In the DLC, he shoots down the dragon that you end up fighting.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, because there's this...
Are you sure? That's not in the DLC. That's just part of the dragon quest line, right?
No, the DLC, you fight this giant black dragon. God, what is his fucking name? He has one eye in the middle of his forehead.
Oh, wow. Okay,
he's a super, super dope boss fight. But with Artorias, I think Artorias' story would be fun to see, actually, like in a theatrical way. I would love to watch how that all went down when he went to Ulasil.
It's cool. In this lore, you have all these like crazy cool things that are happening that you just wish you could kind of like be part of.
Yeah, but that's the cool thing.
Yeah, that's the cool. Like, that's the cool thing.
You
for
still,
sure.
I got obsessed with Artorias for a while. Like,
he's a badass.
He is, and when you fight him, there is no better fight in the game because you know who you're fighting. You found out this lore about him because it's the DLC, so you've heard about him beforehand, and you get to fight this dude that you like almost admire because he gave himself for basically, humanity, so that the Abyss couldn't escape Ulasil.
Yeah, and he's actually so he's actually I think a good guy when you look at the lore, and he's overtaken by the Abyss. And when you meet him, what happens is actually you're pulled into the past, right? And you actually get to fight him.
When you go to Ulasil, Manus, the father of the Abyss, he pulls you in because you meet this chick if you buy the DLC who has all this ancient magic, and she just happened to be stuck in the future. And when you kill this one enemy, she gets sent back to the
gold
past.
golem, right?
Yeah, it's super hard to find out. You have to look up how to get to the DLC. But yeah, it's just one of those things, man. Like, it would be so cool to see that one because Artorias gave up himself, like his safety for his dog, which everybody loves their dog when you have a dog, so you totally relate to it. In the DLC, you find the dog under this protection spell, and you're like,
I'm gonna go like this just for you.
Oh,
go like this and then turn. Oh no, that's not gonna work.
It's not how we do things live.
There you go. That's okay. There you go.
Did I sound bad?
No, you sound okay, but I'm just gonna make it better.
Man.
There you go. Now you can face me, and you can still be in the mic, so it's not as awkward, right?
It's not. Well, it's not awkward. You made it awkward.
Okay,
anyway.
just continue.
Yeah, I forgot where I was. But
so,
anyway, so yeah, you find him, and then you basically, Artorias is. What was that?
I don't know what's going on here.
You were slamming stuff around. You got all the cables.
Anyway, continue.
But when you fight Artorias, like he's broken his arm during this fight, and like he can only use one arm, and he's got his giant sword like just stacked on his shoulder. It was just cool, man. Like I love that whole That was the coolest thing in Dark Souls, and I've loved everything about them. But I don't think you can beat that quest line. I think even though we know the lore has to stay kind of hidden, it would be cool if someone made a movie. I'd watch it.
Yeah, no, it'd be super dope. And I think I'm sure there've been like comic books and shit about that stuff. Well, I know there's some sort of comic, right? I think there's a Dark Souls comic. I'm pretty sure, at least of some of the newer games like Dark Souls 3.
I'm sure in Japan they've done a lot with it too, because I mean that is some Japanese pride along with that series, because they kind of they kind of made this whole mold for this style of game.
Well, the cool thing and where we're getting to, the cool thing too is all of this information is not given to the player. It's all deduced from item descriptions, from conversations with NPCs, and they don't tell you exactly what happened. Generally, you kind of have to figure it out. Like, for example, Shmo, he's like an executioner who, like, didn't he like turn? He was evil to begin with, I think. But I can't remember the story. What happens with him? And do you remember what happens with him and Ornstein and why they're like together? I can't remember.
It's to protect Gwen's sister.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
What's her name? Fuck, man.
We're failing.
It's live.
We're live and we're having fun.
This was no knowledge.
This is the kind of stuff
really
that I like, though. It's like doing the research into it. Ornstein was one of Gwen's most trusted knights, who had the loyal lord, who also loyal to Gwen's firstborn. Would that be the Nameless King? Is that the rumor?
That's the theory. We've never gotten confirmation, but you fight the Nameless King in Dark Souls 3.
Yeah.
And I think he sided with the dragons. That's why he rides in on the last...
Yeah. At some point, Ornstein left the cathedral in search of the Nameless King. Remember, his armor is actually outside of the Nameless King's battle arena. You can find it in Dark Souls 3.
I did not know that.
Really? Yeah, as you're walking up, there's like a big cathedral area. And... well, it's kind of like, I don't know what it is. It's just like a big open area before you go in, and on the side there's a dead guy, and it's Ornstein's armor's on him, and it's believed that's actually where Ornstein dies, or one of the places where he dies.
In Dark Souls 2, you also fight
exactly,
Ornstein. And
it says it is unclear how Ornstein survived the battle against the Chosen Undead, but his body is also there before you go into the Nameless King. It appears he eventually found his way to Archdragon Peak. However, the results of his search, as well as Ornstein's own fate, remain unknown. So this is kind of cool. Like, his armor's there, right? And you also fight him awkwardly in Dark Souls 2, which I don't really understand. Or you fight someone.
Well, it's like the last Dragon Slayer, I think, is what his actual name is.
But it's Ornstein. Well, at least the armor's Ornstein's.
It is his exact armor. It's his exact moveset from Dark Souls. So I don't know. But again, those guys kind of fucked up the lore.
Dark Souls 2 is almost like they think it's kind of something different.
Just a throwaway. It's fun, it's entertaining, but it doesn't really go well with the lore.
Yeah.
There's not a lot from Dark Souls 1.
It was completely disconnected. And I remember when I was playing Dark Souls 3, I was like, whoa, this is Dark Souls 1. This is like all shit from Dark Souls 1.
Yeah.
Like, as I was playing through it, I was like, this is like a sequel or a prequel or something to Dark Souls 1, I thought, when I was playing through it, because...
Her name was Guinevere, wasn't it? Was it Guinevere? She had giant tits.
Yeah.
She was like 18 feet tall.
It makes sense that he'd name his daughter Guinevere.
Why did they ever explain why she was so goddamn big?
Well, she's fake. She's not actually there.
You can kill her.
Yeah, but that's not killing her. It's like killing her visage, and the fake. It's all fake.
Well,
you
then
find
it
out
turns to night.
Yeah, because you find out that it's all fake, and it's like kind of like a shill.
Yeah, because if you
she's
you
not
can
actually
fight
there.
the secret boss, who is it's Gwen's other son, who looks very feminine, and he does all magic attacks.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
It's God damn, I am really looking like a noob here.
Well, I mean, this is what's fun about it. I mean, maybe
any
we
Dark
are.
Soul fan actually listens to this, they're like, he's not.
Yeah, he's a fucking idiot. Hey, shout out if you want to talk about this. Guinevere, Princess of Sunlight.
Talk some shit in the comments.
Go ahead, that's fine. I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
we're not saying we're experts on this lore. We're saying that it's really interesting.
I pretended I was most of my life.
You did. Well, you're probably an expert in comparison to like 99% of people.
Yeah. No one ever knows what Dark. Like
when
we mention it anywhere, everyone's like, "What's Dark Souls?" Like only the greatest fucking game ever made.
Yeah. Gwen. We don't want to watch The Lord of Cinder. The Age of Fire.
Furtive pygmy. Kiln of the First Flame.
Yeah, Gwen can be found at the Kiln of the First Flame.
That's such a dope level too. Like the fact you're watching this like broken world, like where it all started. Like
it's like a broken. Yeah, exactly. Well, it's cool too because like and the Lord of Cinder at the end is a super badass world too.
Yeah,
The world
well, that's where you enter the Ring City DLC, which is weird. You know that they did tie back Dark Souls 2 in that. When you get to the Ring City, you're in what was the area with the Medusa looking chick who had the scorpion tail, or she had a snake tail. Sorry,
I don't remember.
Well, you remember what I'm talking about, like that.
I think so. Yeah.
So that is where the Ring City DLC. It's just the future version that's been destroyed.
Oh wow,
which is super cool. And that's one of the big throwbacks to Dark Souls 2. And then another throwback to Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 3, when you get to the Profane Capital. You remember the Profane Capital?
Yes.
And they have all those ladders that you have to crawl down to get down. The guy who builds the ladders in Dark Souls 2, dead body is in there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Ew.
You look down and he's just like flayed out.
Wow, that's cool.
It's just the little things they do.
There's like little tiny throwbacks everywhere. Well, and also there's like lore behind every single area, because there's what's it called? New Anor Londo, and it's like flooded out, right?
New Londo Ruins.
New Londo Ruins, thank you. It's like flooded out because apparently like the Abyss was escaping, and so I don't know who it was, but they basically walled up the city and flooded it and killed everybody inside. And so when you go down there,
they did not need Congress's approval.
When you go down there, there's ghosts like down there, just the ghosts of the people who live there. And there's like a few other things too, like for example, all the knights at the beginning of the game, the silver knights are black, and that's because they're burnt from being near the first flame, right? Or no, excuse me, they're burnt because they were part of the first battle fighting when Gwen fought the dragons. So they got burnt by the dragons.
There's so many little details, like with Seath the Scaleless, the dragon who betrayed all the others. And he's this ugly, this blobous dragon who has like weird little tentacle feet. But when you read his backstory about how he partnered, like this dragon partners up with Gwen to take the dragons down.
Yeah, so basically there's a giant battle in essence between what I would explain as gods, which is Gwen and his crew, versus dragons, and they're having this huge battle, and there's this guy named Seath the Scaleless who's actually a dragon, like a horrible looking dragon who can't move that well, and he has no scales.
Yeah, he's just triggered because he's so fucking ugly, and he's like, you know what, you guys look great.
So he basically tells Gwen, hey, you can use lightning on these fools and it will mess them up. And that's what they do, and that's how they destroy all the dragons. But we have a comment here. Will Dark Souls ever get a TV adaptation with all the hype of Game of Thrones leading to Lord of the Rings and The Witcher? That'd be dope if it did.
I don't think the creators would allow it. They literally love the fact that everything is hidden and it makes the player explore. That's part of the fun of Dark Souls.
I can understand that too.
And it's the same thing with Bloodborne, because Bloodborne is the same exact kind of, formula. Mm-hmm. So I can't see.
That's like the specialness of that lore is that it's not given to you.
If it became just this campy TV show or a movie, like I told you, I would love to see Artorias movie, but I don't think. At the same time, I don't want that to happen because they might fuck it up.
Yeah,
we have this all to our imagination right now to create this plot line in our head and connect the dots. Which is
it's just a super, I don't know, it's super badass. Like the whole plot, and it's like, and that being said, like all this stuff, I mean the part with Gwen fighting with Seath the Scaleless, like betraying him stuff, that stuff's like legit. But there's other parts, like for example when we're talking about the Nameless King being Gwen's son, we don't know. If you go into Anor Londo, it shows he has a statue of each of his sons and his daughters too, I believe, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think so.
And one of them's broken, and it's assumed that that's the Nameless King.
Yeah.
So it's not all just handed to him, handed to us, I guess. As
but that's the cool thing is you get to it's almost like you get to create your own world in your head. And in any other format that's ever even been remotely presented to me, I'm like, this is bullshit. Just tell me or show me live action. With that, I don't want it, but I do. I'm torn.
Well, we end up with live action from the community, basically.
It's true.
Because we get this. It's not like me and Ben went through and figured all this shit out. Go listen to Silvermont or go listen to Vati Vidya, or there's a couple you watch too, right?
I mainly watch people that stream the game. I do watch the lore video, the one British guy.
Yeah, Bati videos.
Because he makes really, really good video. Like, the video quality's good. He really puts the pieces together for you.
Because actually what he does is he, quote-unquote, reenacts what's happening. Because what he does is he uses a mod on PC and he dresses his character as, like, for example, Artorias, and actually goes through and, like, almost pretends like he's fighting. And he'll do individual videos on, like, the Onion Knight or Artorias or any of these.
He does a lot of the characters.
Like, all of them.
He's broken down a ton.
It's called Prepare to Cry, is what he calls this.
Because, I mean, it's a very, like, if you read most of the lore, there's not a lot of happy endings, if any, in that game.
Yeah.
Like, basically the premise of every Souls game is the world's ending, and you're basically stopping it, or you're aiding it to go on.
An endless cycle, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually, if you light the dark, if you light the dark at the end, basically the Chosen wakes up, right? It starts the cycle again.
Yeah, and it's just
all
endless,
cyclical.
And that's with what was cool about Dark Souls 3 is in that game the plot was these 4 entities that have gotten basically the light before and have passed on. They're resurrected. The four kings that sit, because you have the giant Yorm.
You
You
then
have
the dude sitting there who's all withered.
It's like the pygmy.
Yeah, exactly.
And then who was the fourth? It was the princes, the twin princes.
I know who you're talking about. I can't remember.
And the cool thing with that is you're seeing these people who have sacrificed before, the cycles come back, but they're not supposed to leave from their chairs. Like, they're in the redone Firelink Shrine.
Yeah.
And they get up from their chairs, and your job is to go kill them. Like, it doesn't make the most sense if you don't, like, really, really steep yourself in the lore. Sometimes, I thought that was pretty cool.
It was cool, and dude, it's just all so interesting.
It was the blob dude too, the guy who's eating the boss from the Dark Souls, that one I was talking about that was all magic, that looked very feminine.
Yeah. For one was the dancer, right?
No, the dancer just protected. The dancer basically was there.
Oh yeah, past that, that's where the two.
So we get to the princes.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Now I'm talking about in Anne Orlando, in Ornstein and Smo's boss room, you fight Aldrich, Devourer of the Gods.
Yeah, he's like he splits into 2.
It's literally a blob that's consuming Gwen's son. And he's using Gwen Sun's movesets from Dark Souls while combining new attacks.
Yeah.
It's that right there. Like, talk about lore. You put the best boss fight. It's not rated my best boss fight. But Ornstein and Smo is rated like the top boss fight in Dark Souls.
Because everyone says it's super difficult, which I don't think it's that difficult.
Well, it was the first well done gank, and it's probably the last one to ever get up. I mean, Dark Souls 3 had a good one with the twin princes, or the demons. But yeah, like, you're there. This thing is eating a god you've already fought from the first one, and you're still technically fighting 2 bosses connected. So that was pretty dope.
It is dope, and this is like all separate from the game. Like, if you go play the game, I mean, in terms of the gameplay, like, none of this has anything really to do with the gameplay. Yeah,
you might never ever stumble across any of this.
I didn't know that, what you just explained. I didn't realize.
Yeah, look up Aldrich. The story of Aldrich. Aldrich is entirely responsible for the Cathedral of the Deep. They worshipped him there.
Yeah.
That room where you fight the deacons.
Yeah, the deacons.
That's Aldrich's grave. That's where he came out of to leave. Because you go to the cathedral, if you follow the lore of those 2 knights and you find them on, like, the Road of Sacrifices, you're going to the cathedral to kill Aldrich. And when you get there, the deacons of the deep.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So that if you look at, like, I spent a lot of time, like, investigating that area.
And looking around.
His casket is right there, and it's huge.
Well, and then, like, one of the deacons of the deep broke off, and I don't know his story, and he's like the leader of one of the groups that you can join. Remember, he's like down in the corner.
A covenant. Yeah,
Covenant.
He's a giant fat thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Those two reskins of the fire dog from Bloodborne are down there. Mm-hmm.
And they're a pain in the ass.
I mean, like
too.
I said,
they are.
If you aggro both of them, it's game over.
You have to fight them individually, but it's almost impossible because you have to move so much.
You have to keep luring that one back in the corner. You got to stay in that small block where he can't see.
And all this is happening, and I'd say most people who play the game, if you pick it up not understanding what you're going to get through, you're going to hit a real wall just right off the bat and be like, dude, fuck this game. Because it's not difficult, it's challenging.
Yeah, you have to learn. Like, you literally have to learn how to play that game.
And that being said, I'm sure the only people who say it's not difficult, it's challenging, are the people who beat it. But
it's a hard game.
It's a hard game.
It is, but that's the joy
fair.
of it. everything you get from that game to me is awesome. It's a fair and balanced game if you're willing to take the time and patience to nail it. And when you do nail it, you're like, you feel so goddamn good for the next 20 minutes. And then it's just that reward of finding out new stuff as you explore. And, you know, even though you just went through this army of assholes to get to this ring, you found out something really cool that you didn't know before. So,
and it's fair. Like I just said, it was fair. But what I mean is when you go and, for example, you fight Gwen. He's a good example of this. Gwen, you walk in this room, and he's probably the most polarizing figure of all of them in terms of he's probably the most important piece of the Dark Souls lore, because he's kind of the grandfather of everything. But you go in, and Gwen's standing there, and he comes up, and the first thing he does is he leaps, and does this like super huge flame slash.
Every
thing.
fight,
yeah,
never changes.
So he instantly sees you, and he basically attacks you. Now, when he attacks you, there's a few frames where you can actually parry him. And that's how you actually kill him, is by parrying him. Well, it's the best way to kill him, is by parrying him and attacking. Now, if you fuck that up, it's your fault. Those frames are always there. It's never like, he never cheeses you. He never cheats you. He never automatically turns around and attacks you. Every attack he does is like, you have a deliberate way to approach
It's calculated.
It's calculated,
Yeah.
exactly.
The only time I ever feel like Dark Souls or Bloodborne is cheap is when the fucking camera just shits all over your pants and just like goes behind your head or above your head, and it's underneath, or it goes in the monster because it's a big giant thing.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what do I do here?
Yeah, exactly.
You just keep hitting the circle until you're out of there.
Exactly. Some of them, sometimes it does happen. Like, for example, in Demon Souls, sometimes the Tower Knight would fall and it gets stuck like in his leg. But then it's my fault. I shouldn't have got stuck there.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cheap. But this is the thing about it, is generally, I think a lot of people feel that you can cheese a lot of bosses, and you can like really use these mechanics to your best ability. For example, if you fight the Tower Knight, who's in Demon Souls, completely kind of separate. If you fight the Tower Knight, you can just sit back and move in and move out and just shoot him with arrows. And you can kill him by just shooting arrows at him. And
that's for pussies.
Yeah, well, but you have to use those. Sometimes it's really difficult, and you have to use what you have.
You never cheese. I've never cheesed.
Yeah, you're
even
a
though
liar.
earlier I told you about how I cheesed that one guy from Bloodborne.
I cheesed Alant, King Alant, and Demon Souls. Sometimes you have to summon people, but that's part of it. Like,
I try my best not to summon. I really do.
What about NPCs?
No, I try. I mean, granted, Dark Souls 2, I was just annoyed with the game, so I would. But with
You're not going to summon Solaire?
No, I want to do it on my own. That's the challenge, because doing it on your own.
The Nameless King is a bitch alone, man.
I did it. The DLC bosses in Bloodborne I summoned for fucking Ludwig, because he is an asshole. I don't think there's any boss harder in the Soul series. Like,
I didn't fight that one, so I can't say.
Have you watched videos of the Ludwig fight?
Yes.
That's some cool fucking lore. Because Ludwig is just, he's one
For those of you who don't know, remember this, there's kind of two concurrent, if you don't know what we're talking about, there's two concurrent pieces. There's Dark Souls, which is kind of more of a fantasy game, medieval, and then there's Bloodborne, which is made by the same people, which is much more of a steampunk goth kind of game.
Yeah, it's Victorian style, goth era.
But continue,
but
Ludwig.
Same exact gameplay, same exact exploration of lore.
Yeah, same kind of gameplay, but a little different.
It's more offensive than defensive.
Yeah, for sure.
Quick. But Ludwig is one of the first hunters of this. So the whole plot of this game is this healing church and these hunters that go out and they kill beasts.
Yeah.
And they're extracting all this blood and these celestial bodies. And they end up just fucking themselves up because they end up turning on, it turns them into monsters.
Yeah.
So Ludwig was one of the first hunters.
Yeah, yeah.
And he was Ludwig, the Holy Blade.
His Holy Blade, which is one of the main weapons in the game. In the DLC, you actually get to fight him, which is cool.
Yeah, you're in the Hunter's Dream. No, not the Hunter's Dream, the Hunter's Nightmare.
Yeah.
And the world is insane. Like, it's gross. There's, like, rivers of blood you're going through. And you come in this room that's just covered in bodies and, like, intestines and stuff. And he comes out and you fight. It says Ludwig the Accursed. You're fighting him. And one thing that's stuck through every game in the series, even Bloodborne, is the Moonlight Blade.
Yeah.
The Moonlight thing has been consistent with every Souls and Bloodborne game.
Yeah.
So when you get him down to half health, he stops, a cutscene starts, and he looks over and he goes, "Oh my God, you've been with me all along." And it's this giant Moonlight Blade. And he slams it on the ground. and the fight goes from this monster that's just randomly like rampaging to this hunter. Even though
as you're like breaking him down.
Yeah, and the music changes. It gets really, really exciting. That is the most challenging fight in the series, in my opinion. I could not do it.
Yeah.
I had 2 summons. I beat him. I couldn't do it by myself. He's too much.
Dude, it feels so good when you finally do it, and you're like, ugh, and you see him like crumble. Usually it'll crumble. And
you get the words on the screen.
Yeah.
Prey has been killed.
Yeah, Prey has been killed, or, whatever it happens to be depending on the game. But yes, it is...
satisfying.
The most difficult I had was the Nameless King, and dude, I don't know, I just couldn't.
And all of them?
No, one of the most difficult was Nameless King.
Who's your hardest?
The hardest was the Fume Knight.
Yeah, I just didn't care enough about Dark Souls 2 to even put the effort in. Like that was the game I would summon people in all the time. I really don't. I love Dark Souls 2, but at the end of the day, I don't like it. Like comparing it to the other ones, like it's just trash.
So you're way better at the games than I did because I summon the shit out of people. Now that you're telling me this, I'm gonna try to do a Dark Souls run without a summon.
Just go through Dark Souls 1. Never summon for Artorias.
I won't summon. Oh, I won't. I won't summon a I'm gonna try to beat that game without summoning a single player. But did you ever like playing multiplayer where you got summoned? Like, did you?
If I wanted to replay a boss, yeah. I didn't. I'm very much by myself in gaming. I don't really like other people being involved in it. So, but at the end of the day, if it, like with the Abyss Watchers, we were talking about that. I got summoned into that fight quite a few times too. I really like that fight. But no, I typically keep it just me.
Well, that's cool. Well, let's check in with our people real quick because I think this is an interesting conversation, and we've gotten a good conversation, but I think we can continue for a little bit longer. We're at about 51 minutes, but
I don't know, man. I'm pretty hungry.
We're not going to go super long or anything. Kidding. But Robbie says the WoW movie would be a good example of a movie lore going badly.
Yeah, dude.
I didn't watch that movie. Did you watch it?
No. I'm
not a big World of War. Well, I played World of Warcraft with Robbie to like level 55. There's like 90 levels, but I didn't watch it enough or care enough.
The trailer looks so corny.
You're right.
Looks so bad.
And then shout out to my sister Kat who says hi. She joined the party. What's up, nerds?
Whoa, easy.
Yeah, whoa. Excuse me.
Not a nerd.
You've offended us.
I have tattoos.
But so first off, what would you say is your favorite game of the Dark Souls? The Dark Souls games or Dark. Yeah, Dark Souls, Bloodborne.
It could be
Soulsborne.
Sekiro.
Could be.
Sekiro looks pretty dope.
Yeah.
And that's going to be super lore driven too, which I'm excited about. They've already said it's going to be very much exploration and stuff in that. So dope. Can't wait. March 22nd.
Yep.
I think it's 22nd. Dark Souls 3.
Is that your favorite?
I think it had the best DLC. The snow. Ashes of Ariandel was so.
The DLCs are pretty amazing because I really haven't gotten to them. But you're saying pretty much all your favorite stuff is from the DLCs, right? Artorias,
just the Ring City. Oh, you're talking about
like in general.
Yeah,
and Bloodborne.
The Artorias DLC has 3 of the best bosses. It has 3 bosses. They're 3 of the best in the series.
Because when you first walk in, it's like a giant dog chimera thing, isn't it?
Oh, there's 4 bosses. I forgot about. That's the sanctuary, the Garden of the Sanctuary or something. Sanctuary Garden.
And you fight him again in Dark Souls 2.
No, you don't.
I swear you fight the Sanctuary
Guardian.
Guardian.
It's not the same exact
it's not the same guy.
It might have the same mechanics.
And it's called the Sanctuary Guardian too, I think.
No, I'm thinking of the wrong thing. But yeah, the Ring City is Bloodborne's DLC is probably the best DLC out of all of them. The Ring City is really close, but I think Dark Souls 3 as a whole, I like anything that gives back to the fans. And Dark Souls, they gave so many throwbacks to previous games and previous fun things.
In the Ring City.
The Ring City is just amazing. But I still think you should go back and play Bloodborne's DLC. Well,
I actually talking about this real quick. I'm going to do a side thing. I'm actually going back through and playing all of them, and I'm going to recommend something to everybody. I want to pull it up here on the screen, which is really cool. I got it for my for Christmas from my in-laws. Which shout out. But the Dark Souls trilogy box.
Picked it up. It's Dark Souls Remastered 2 and 3 with all DLCs included, yeah?
No, it's 1, 2, and 3.
That's what I said. But the Remastered number 1.
Yeah, it's the Remastered 1, the Remastered 2. So it's Dark Souls Remastered, which includes Artorias DLC. The Dark Souls 2 Scholars of the First Sin, which this being said, I don't know if that you want Scholars of the First Sin to be your first. I would recommend playing Dark Souls Remastered before you go at Scholars of the First Sin, because Scholars of the First Sin is difficult.
Play 1 and 3.
Yeah.
Save that trash for last.
Then Scholars of the First Sin, because they add a whole bunch of really difficult shit in there. It's a lot more difficult. And then Dark Souls 3, the Fire Fates, which includes Ashes of Ariandel and the Ring City. So you get all three of them in a cool steelbook. That is $80, I think, which is I mean, maybe you can buy them separately for cheap, but you definitely can't get them with. Well, maybe you can.
No,
I don't think you can get
route to go.
It's the better route, and it's badass because it actually has the three main. It's just a cool setup. So you have the Chosen One, and then the Fram Knight, which I can't remember what in Dark Souls you are. You're like, I can't remember what in Dark Souls 2 you are, but
and then you have the last boss.
And then the last boss of Dark Souls 3.
He teased you. He's right there on the cover.
Yep.
Even on you have Day 1 edition, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, on the cover it's him like kneeling.
Yep. And then if you look over here too, it has he's actually holding, there's the fire, one of the bonfires, and then he's holding, of course, the bonfire like
It's his weapon.
thing. Yeah, it's his
can
weapon.
do all
So
stuff.
it's a super cool setup. And another cool thing, which I'm not necessarily, one thing I'm a proponent of if you have difficulty with this game, which there's a lot of shit that can happen in the game, So, for example, when the NPCs die, they die. And in Dark Souls 1, if you don't kill that asshole, he'll come to...
Demon Souls.
No, in Dark Souls. Well, Demon Souls too. But also in Dark Souls.
Oh, you're right.
If you don't kill... It's the same dude. I can't remember his name. We're basically the same dude.
He's like super gold.
Yeah, and he has the weird thing on his head.
Yeah.
If you don't kill this NPC... which you get used to not killing NPCs because you don't want them to die. But if you don't kill them, they actually go back and they kill important other NPCs. And he kills from the main area. What's the main area in Dark Souls 1 called?
It's Firelink Shrine.
Firelink Shrine. He'll kill the
Firekeeper.
Yep. Yeah, there. So what I was going to recommend is there's also Dark Souls strategy guides. No, they're cool, dude.
You gotta do it on your own.
No, don't, dude.
You're
don't
a
listen.
straight noob if you do a strategy guide.
These strategy guides are super fucking dope, dude.
They tell you how to beat the game.
They're dope. And they're these huge, beautiful books.
I like the cover of that one.
Dude, I'll grab mine in a second after we finish, and I'll show it to you. It's super badass. They have cool armor. It talks about armor. It talks about leveling, and it's really fun. Because there's a lot of intricate things when it comes to level scaling and armor scaling and weapon scaling. You take advantage, or you take granted for the fact that you understand it. But a lot of people don't understand what a dex build is.
I didn't
know
understand
you
it
learned,
when I first picked
but
it up.
this tells you and explains it to you.
Yeah, like a bitch.
You're just going to go through. They're going to have the Night Sword, and they're going to be fighting Ornstein and Schmo.
That's how we all did it. Trial by fire.
Okay, so there's two ways to play the game. There's Ben's way,
Like
which
a
is just
real
kind of die.
person.
And there's my way, which is to kind of, as you go, research and learn how the mechanics.
How dare you call yourself a Souls fan with a strategy guide in tow?
No regrets. I don't regret anything.
Last time I used a strategy guide, I was in like third grade.
I'm going to show you the strategy guide after this, and
I'm sure I'll like it, but I already know this. I don't want to cheat.
But anyway,
You have a favorite
so I've asked you what? I asked you what your favorite game. No, I asked you what your favorite boss was.
No?
I asked you what your favorite game was.
Favorite boss is Artorias. We already went over that one. What's yours?
Favorite, my favorite boss. If I had to pick, Ornstein and Schmo is an easy one, right?
I hate when people go for that one. Like, it's a great fight, but I think if you really appreciate the game, you could find. And I think Artorias is a very mainstream answer.
Yeah.
But I think that's the most badass lore in the game.
But
so.
my favorite boss battle, I think, and the reason is because of the way you feel when you fight him is Gwen. When you walk in and that music's playing, it's kind of like he's like a huge badass
it's
fire,
sad, though.
fire wielding, like fire sword wielding dude, and it's just this like calm music, and it's really cool, and it's like a sad music, exactly.
Because it's the end of the game.
Yeah,
like it's the end of.
Well, it's the end of the world.
Yeah,
it's the end of the world.
And even though it's a super intense fight, it's like this. It's just relaxation.
This super intense dude's flying at you and flipping and attacking you with this huge sword, and it's just this really calm music that's really sad.
I love that they thought that. Like, I love that they thought of that.
Yeah,
that's such a good idea that I never would have thought of.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, I guess that's about all the
I
Dark
think that's a
Souls
good
we can
one. I
squeeze
think
in.
we're sorry. We're not well. We just wanted to. I just wanted to
It's a
talk
test.
about lore, and you can see here how people do this all over, and they talk about the lore, and it's really cool. But yeah, I guess before we go, real quick, super quick, anybody have any? Are we still three viewers? Is there anybody who has any questions or wants to hear us talk about anything real quick before we go? Because yeah, it's already almost 8 o'clock here on a Sunday, and we have so much to do.
We need a pillow for this chair. My ass hurts.
Oh, my bad. I'll get you hooked
heads
up. Okay.
FYI.
I'll get you hooked up. We got like a 10 or 15 second delay, so we're going to wait a second and see what people have to say here.
We need some like cool music to play.
Dun, dun, dun.
That's not cool.
Oh, shoot. I'm actually, my bad. This whole time we've been watching our screen. There you go. Oh, wow.
You were showing the book. Showing the book.
There you go.
Hey, any shout outs while we're waiting?
Yeah, let's do the shout outs here. We got a lot of them in here. Shout out to Patrick, shout out to Robbie, and shout out to Jacob for his big old being a true bro.
I'd like to shout out Jacob real quick for being a huge piece of shit and missing my and Jay Eastwood's birthday.
Yeah.
I don't think you belong on the show. I don't like you very much. So that shout out's been. I told him I was going to do this.
Okay. Well, I still feel bad I missed your birthday.
You should.
We'll talk about that later. Patrick says, "What's up, freak? You got here late. Sorry, friend. We're about to wrap up, but you can still watch the live stream and listen to the podcast." But he says, "What did I miss? I may have a question. You missed. We talked a little bit about lore in video games,
Mainly Dark Souls.
Mainly Dark Souls. We did a lot of Dark Souls. We talked and lore in media in general, and how there's different kinds of lore and different kinds of." Ways that lore can be given to someone, like in Lord of the Rings or the Lord of the Rings universe and Tolkien's universe, he just wrote about it, so you just read about it. But in Dark Souls, you pick up and you learn you pick up and learn from these items and by talking to NPCs, and it's not directly fed to you. So that's what we've been talking about.
I bought this for him.
Yeah, shout out to Ben. He bought this
for Christmas. I wasn't a Secret Santa or anything.
Yeah, he wasn't. He just bought it out of the goodness of his heart. A Kratos pop guy.
He said it was his favorite game, and I was like, I know what he has to have.
Yeah,
and here it is.
It's everything I
Number
didn't have.
269, Bubby.
But anyway, we're gonna wait here for like 2 or 3 more minutes. But we're doing shout outs. So shout out to my wife, shout out Patrick, shout out Jacob. Shout out to you.
I stick by my shout out to Jacob.
That's it. Just the one shout out to Jacob.
No, I'm gonna think.
What about Dawn Marie? Shout out Dawn Marie.
We found out my mom listens. Because she lives on the East Coast and she misses the sound of my voice, and now she gets to see me. Oh, what a real treat for Dawn Marie. She bought me an N64 and my favorite N64 game, Body Harvest, for my 30th birthday. She really listened.
Which of those?
She caught the connecting cues.
And those who don't know, Body Harvest is one of actually technically one of Rockstar's first games.
And Dawn Marie hooked it up. So shout out Dawn Marie. I love you, Mom.
And you'd have to be a real nerd to know that when you look at the cover. But I know, because I'm a nerd.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
You didn't know that. Shout out to Raven, who wants a Dark Crystal remake.
The show's coming.
Yeah, the show is coming. He's right. So shout out to Raven, as always. Shout out also shout out to Thodes. He said thanks for the shout out. And shout out to Kooky Lukey, even though I haven't seen him in a long time. But shout out to him.
Shout out Mr. Lonely, since Jay's not here to do it. We still haven't met Mr. Lonely, but shout out, dude.
Yeah, shout out to Mr. Lonely, a.k.a. Kevin. Kevon. And Patrick says, hi, Ben's mom. And Kat says that she wants one of those, and it's her favorite game as well.
Well, go buy it yourself.
So, everyone, thank you for joining us. I think we're going to better place the camera next time. It's kind of in a weird spot, and you just looked at the back of my head basically the whole time in this mic that is Ben's. And hopefully next time Jay Eastwood's back in the building. Thanks for joining in, and have a solid day.
We'll see y'all. Bye, friends.
Bye, friends. Have a good day.
Hey, y'all.
Yeah, we're going to end. Bye.